Good afternoon and welcome to the Virginia SBDC's webinar series, Google and Beyond, Marketing and Managing on the Web. This series is designed to take a look at tools and techniques to help small businesses take their business to the next level. Today's webinar is Advertising on the Web. All of our Google and Beyond webinars are presented by Ray Sidney Smith of W3 Consulting. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type those questions in the question window and Ray will do his best to answer them. Without further ado, here's Ray Sidney Smith.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you to the Virginia SBDC Network for having me here on the webinars for Google and Beyond, Marketing and Managing on the Web. And we're going to be talking about advertising on the web today. We're going to be talking about everything but Google AdWords, basically. And so just a couple of housekeeping notes. If you have questions, as Tracy said before, there is the question panel. You can go ahead and just go ahead and ask those questions as needed. And if you have questions after the webinar, feel free to go ahead and ask those at W3 Consulting and hashtag it Beyond Google so that I know that it's about the Beyond Google presentations. And of course, feel free to go follow the at Virginia SBDC Network and follow them for the information they're posting about future webinars and all sorts of other resources that the SBDC Network has out there. So today's agenda is going to be, though it's a brief one here, it is actually a pretty substantive topic, but we're going to cover really an overview of advertising platform criteria, what makes a good advertising network, or an ad network as they call them, and we're going to talk about the reputable ones that are out there. So we're going to talk about Tier 1 and Tier 2 ad platforms, the ones that are existing out there, and then we're also going to talk about sort of the pros and cons of some of these platforms, and I'm going to take you to some of their websites so you can see what they're really all about. And again, this is an overview, so I'm not going to get into really a lot of nitty-gritty into some of these, but I will talk about some of the pros and cons of some of these ad networks. So with that, we're going to get started with what makes a good ad network and really talk about some of the fundamentals of what it means to advertise as a small business within these ad networks. I am running on a computer with the same audio right now, so if for some reason my audio hiccups, just let Tracy know and I will be happy to repeat myself so that you can go ahead and get clear answers or clear audio from me a second time around if anything hiccups. So what makes a good ad network? Well, there's sort of 5 fundamental pieces to what makes a good ad network. And let's start with the top one, which is, do they target your audience? It's really important for you to understand that most ad networks that are not Google, or some of the larger ones that I'll talk about in a little while, they have niche environments, niche audiences, and you have to really make sure that when you're going into an ad network or looking at ad networks, that you know their audience. They typically publish those statistics on their websites, and you should just get to know who are these people that the ad networks are showing ads to, and are they for you? So as we'll talk about later, if you have a particular ad network that only serves one particular population, well, if that's not your population, then it's going to be almost useless to you. So you don't want to go ahead and do that. What you want to do is you want to make sure that those national and local ad networks are going to satisfy your needs, and then look at the other criteria beyond that. But the first criterion is your audience there?
Ray, we have a question.
Yes.
Which I think is pretty basic. Can you start with what is an ad network?
Sure. So in the description of the webinar, we talked about the fact that Google AdWords itself is an ad network, and an ad network is a network of people who are publishing ads on your behalf to websites all over the internet, all over the World Wide Web, actually. So you actually pay this network to place ads on websites. And you as a small business, you want to advertise, very similar to, I guess it's basically analogous to advertising in the newspaper. You pay the newspaper a fee, or some kind of remuneration for being able to be placing those ads into the newspaper for people to see. Okay, so The next sort of criterion is the bidding model. How are you going to be paying the ad network for the ads that you're going to be placing? And this gets really, really complicated, and I don't have the time in the webinar really to explain all of this, so we're just going to go over sort of the big three that you'll come across and what those bidding models really look like. So a bidding model, what it means is that there's an auction. All of the ad networks that you're going to really be dealing with are going to be on an auction basis, meaning that you're competing with other people for the keywords or the display area, sort of like real estate. You're paying for real estate on someone else's website or mobile device or wherever they might be showing the ads. So in an auction, you basically, the ad display goes to the highest bidder. So at any given moment, your ads are being either placed in front of someone or not being placed in front of someone because you're bidding a particular amount of money. And so you actually set an amount and say, I'm going to pay X dollars or X cents for showing these ads to these people. If you're the highest bidder, you get shown more often. If you're not the highest bidder, then you get shown less often or not at all. So then you decide. You usually are only paying, though, for those ads that are being shown or those ads that are clicked on or those ads that make something happen. Okay, so CPC, or what they sometimes call PPC, pay-per-click. But CPC is meaning that you get charged when someone clicks on that ad, whether that be a text ad, a photo, a display ad, or a video ad. So CPC is all about, I pay 25 cents per click. Okay, so that's why it's cost per click, CPC. So cost per click is where you pay per click, and that's where it will be more expensive because you're getting someone to actually click on a link. CPC stands for cost per thousand, M being the Roman numeral for thousand. And so CPM is really a lot about exposure to a lot of people, brand awareness, another marketing touch point, that kind of stuff. It's not really going to get you a lot of high traffic to your website more than it's going to get you more brand awareness about a particular product or service line, and can be really useful in a lot of ways. But that's what CPM is. So CPM is what are you going to pay? 25 cents per 1,000 people this particular ad is going to show in front of. And finally, the more rare option in a bidding model, but is becoming more prevalent in some smaller niche ad networks, is CPA, which is cost per action. And that really means that someone actually does something. They click on a link that makes a phone call. They purchase a product, or they download an ebook. They have to do something in order for that ad network to get paid for the ad that you're displaying. So it's a much higher standard, and not a lot of ad networks have been able to make very good on their promises for CPA, so it's obviously a rarer model, but it can be very effective for a small business when they really want things to happen. The next item, the third item, is really the kind of services that the ad network is going to provide you. Are they providing you with strategic planning and consultation as it relates to that your ad campaigns? So, ad campaigns are basically the culmination of a series of ads for a particular amount of time. So again, going back to the newspaper analogy from the question asked earlier, which is, if you go to a newspaper and you say, I'd like to advertise in your newspaper, typically what happens is they'll say, okay, for how many weeks, what size ad, what does the ad look like, or the text copy of the ad that will be in there, and they'll run the ad. Some newspapers have gotten savvy, and they'll actually work with the design department and you and really think about, well, if you advertise for 7 weeks straight, then you're going to get a better, you're going to get a better return on investment than if you only advertise for 3 weeks of time. So they start to talk to you about what's going to work best for you. In a self-serve environment, which is the other side, is you basically log into the system and you do it yourself. You get no advice, you get no guidance, and you just go from scratch. The system really handles everything for you. Now, if you're more savvy and you've done this before and you're very comfortable with advertising online, a self-serve system would work really well for you. But if you're doing it for a first time, then the consultation and strategy sort of side may be worth paying for, or paying a little bit more in advertising so that you're getting that kind of consultation and guidance in your first ad campaigns. There are also the ability to hire people who are consultation, services, and these are basically consultants that you can hire, and they know these ad networks, they know strategies to be able to help you, and you hire them directly to be able to guide you through those processes. Now, not all of them are experts in all of the networks, so really for you, you're going to have to decide on an ad network and then decide on the consultants who are going to help you with that ad network if you need that guidance, and you're going to have to make sure that they know your network, that particular type of ad network you're going to work with. So if you decide on Google Ads versus Yahoo Ads, not every Google Ad Network consultant knows anything about Yahoo Ads. There are people like me who, I'm a generalist, so I know a lot about a lot of different ad networks, but I can't really count myself an expert in some of the smaller networks. I have to concentrate in some particular one, and I've chosen Google AdWords to be the one that I pay attention to, and I tangentially sort of pay attention to all the other smaller ones. So if you're only going to advertise on LinkedIn ads or Twitter ads, well, then you should find someone who is specific to that niche network. Okay, so don't try and push a square peg into a round hole when it comes to these things. And the person who says, I'm an expert in all of these, I know them all, well, you can immediately discount them as knowing nothing, because they're just going to lead you down a wrong path if you're only focusing on one ad network. Anyway, next up, we have ad formats. So a good ad network is going to have a wide range of ad formats. So that might include the ability for you to have text ads, very similar to a classified ad, and we're going to talk about classified ads in a little while. And those text ads can be short, they can be longer passages, they can be full blog posts, as we'll talk about one network, and they can be really quality text, and they can be really poor quality text. The standards for the ad network should be pretty high for what should be good text to show in an ad, and that's going to show their reputation about the quality that they expect to drive in terms of traffic. So if they say you could put any text, poor grammar, poor writing in general, bad marketing copy, if they allow you to do those kinds of things, they're not likely going to bring you a lot of traffic, and you're just going to pay money for nothing. So they should have clear guidelines. Their editorial guidelines should be pretty strong in terms of ad placement, and you should pay attention to that being a standard, not only for yourself in the business, but on behalf of the ad network. Photos and video, they're becoming much more prevalent in terms of ad placement. Photos in and on bloggers who are trying to make money from placing ads on their website through these ad networks or from these ad networks. So you place an ad with the ad network then places those ads onto bloggers' blogs, and then people who are reading the blog go ahead and click on the ads, and you then see the web traffic from the ads being clicked on to your business's website. The blogger makes a little bit of money off of each of those clicks. And you want to make sure that you're getting the best real estate, the best prime presence in those kinds of ads, and making sure the ad network is going to do that for you, is going to make sure that if a blogger is using one particular ad network, you want to make sure that that blogger is being required to be giving that ad network the prime real estate on the blog. You don't want to be the last ad after they've seen 5 or 6 of them. And you also don't want a blogger who's putting 5 or 6 ads on the same page. And that's inclusive of video. And one little note about ad networks that do this, some of them do autoplay of videos, and you could probably understand this as a consumer about how frustrating it is to come to a website and for the website to go ahead and just start playing video. So make sure that whatever ad networks are out there, that they are really more sophisticated with regard to placing ads that are video up there, so that the video at the very least doesn't play audio immediately, but if they are going to load videos, that they give people the option to understand that it is video and that they can play it, but that it probably shouldn't auto-load unless there's a very, very good reason. Okay, so the last item is our ad controls. You as a small business owner are attempting to put and apply these ads out there in the world so that your target audience can receive them. But many times you want to be able to put your ads out there and control the way in which you are being presented. Some ads show you in line with other competitors, for instance, and you want to make sure that you're going to be able to present yourself separately and exclusively to certain people. What I mean by here on the slide, I have no competitors' ads. One thing that happens is an ad network will allow a publisher, a website publisher, to block you as an advertiser from being on their website because you're a competitor. So one thing you want to pay attention to is if your predominant audience is coming to some other content that is your competitor's website and you want to be able to get to them, figure out whether or not that ad network will block you from doing so. Even if that person is not a competitor, they may see you as a threat and therefore block you from it and therefore to be an ineffective ad network. A good example would be a trade association where they have ads on their website and therefore a lot of people come to those places, those web properties of that particular professional association or industry association, and you try to put ads on the network because that's one of their prime publishers, except that they have the power to block you. If they have the power to block you, then it's not useful for you, and you might be funneling money toward much less effective ads. Another control that you have to have is legal ages. So for potentially legal age for smoking, legal age for drinking, and other kinds of content. If you are a restaurant or some kind of business where you have those kinds of things on premise and you don't want to, or you're selling them online or otherwise, you want to be able to make sure that you know that the right legal age of those people are there and that you are able to block those people from seeing those ads where it's required by law or that it's just not practical for you to show a bunch of ads for alcohol, or maybe irresponsible for you, if you want to look on that level, to show those ads to a bunch of minors. So just make sure that the ad networks have some level of control if that's important for your business. And finally, ad spend limits. The big ticket crisis that happens on almost a weekly basis for me is I get an email from a business that says, you know, I set an AdWords campaign to go, or I set a Yahoo Ads campaign to go, or a Twitter Ads campaign to go, and I showed up and there was a $1,600 bill at the end of the week because they didn't set the ad spend limits. And you need to make sure that the services that you're going to provide have them and that you set them so that you don't show up at the end of a week or an end of a month and you see this huge amount of money that's been taken out of your credit or debit card for the business because you didn't put a limit. So an ad spend is the amount of money that you've allotted, you've budgeted within the system, and for any advertising campaign. You want to make sure that your ad spend, the amount of money you planned on spending on advertising, stays within those limits. So ad spend limits are important. Make sure that you have them. Anybody have any questions regarding the sort of ad network good criteria?
We don't have any questions, Ray.
Great. So next up, we're going to go ahead on to the major players in the market, and then I'm going to take you to a couple of the sites so that you can go ahead and actually see some of these sites and what they're all about, and we'll talk about some of those pros and cons. Okay. So let's talk about really the tier 1 and tier 2 network ad networks concept. So in the left-hand column on your screen is and are the tier 1s. The tier 1s are just really the big ticket ad networks, and they also happen to match, as you can see, the 3 largest search engines in the world. So Google AdWords, I'm sorry, 3 largest search engines in at least the United States, in North America too. So Google AdWords, largest search engine, and Google itself is the largest search engine, and they are, forgive me a moment, and so Google AdWords is, of course, our tier 1. They're the big guys, and we're not talking about them today. So we've talked about them in prior webinars, and I'm sure we'll talk about them in future ones, but they're basically the largest network and the most reputable in terms of ad placement. They have the AdWords system, and they have AdWords Express. So that's them. Yahoo has Yahoo Ads, and they are one of the other tier 1s. And tier 1s, of course, go ahead and push a lot of traffic, and therefore they are lucrative for hitting the broadest markets. So if you have a very large or broad target market, then you want to be able to do that. They have the ability to target both national and local, and they're capable of displaying the most broad kinds of ads. So Google AdWords, Yahoo, and Bing Ads, which is run by the Microsoft Ad Network, are all those networks. They have the most variety of ads. That means they can be displayed on web and mobile, and they also have the ability to syndicate those ads across many different other kinds of specialty products. So you have a lot to work with in those. Google AdWords uniquely has the ability to do the click-to-call functionality. They innovated the ability for you to have an ad within a mobile phone or a mobile tablet, and it knows that it's on a phone, and so therefore you can actually click on some of their ads that are enabled through you, the small business owner, advertising and choosing it, and you're able to then pull up the call dialer from your phone and actually place a phone call directly to your business from the ad. So those are the tier 1s. The tier 2s are basically the up-and-comers, the niche ad networks, the ones that are highly targeted to a specific either local community or interest community, whether that be some kind of special interest that you have or something like that. So I've given them sort of in the tiers of largest to smallest right now, and then I'm going to go to some of the smaller niche networks, and I'll talk about really one big brand network, just so that you have an idea about a non-tier 1, but that is still a huge player in the market because they use a lot of traditional media along with their online advertising tools. Okay, so there's Facebook. Everybody knows Facebook, and Facebook, of course, has Facebook Ads. Facebook Ads covers a wide variety of different kinds of advertising today for small business, and while I don't particularly recommend a lot of Facebook advertising, I do know that there can be powerful uses of Facebook Ads for small business. So if you look at it, there are the ability to, of course, create the regular ads. Facebook has just regular advertising, where you place ads in the sidebar of Facebook and they show up there. But Facebook has also innovated several different kinds of ads. So you can create ads that are called sponsored stories, and those are basically stories, those are posts that you create, and they can be then syndicated out there into the news feeds of your target audience. You can also boost posts, and a Facebook boosting post, you'll probably see that if you have a Facebook page, when you post something, right below every post now it'll say, do you want to boost this post? It has a little boost post button. What that does is it keeps that post up at the top of the news feed, and it shows it to more of your audience for longer periods of time, so that it gets more exposure to your audience. Why? Because your news feed as a consumer is consistently just rolling along. It's like a highway, driving down a highway. You continue driving, you don't stop, and the status updates just keep coming at you. So as it flows down, your ad loses, of course, influence because it isn't being seen. One way to overcome that is, of course, to have lots of likes and comments for your posts, which drives up its ability to have stickiness. That is, sort of like a Post-it. It sort of sticks at the top of the news feed. Well, Boost is a way to pay for it to do that, and can be very, very powerful. Something that a lot of people don't realize is that you also have the ability to advertise particular pages, so you can advertise for your page to be a sponsored page. And what that does is about every 4 or 5 posts in a consumer's or Facebook user's news feed, Facebook will basically have 5 to 7 or 5 to 10 different Facebook pages that are quote-unquote sponsored. They're paid to sit there and tell the users that they might be interested in them. And you can, of course, target who you put these pages in front of. And so you'll be able to then, get your Facebook page liked more by more people by sponsoring your page and putting it up there. And then finally, if you have an app for your business, a smartphone app or a mobile app of some kind for your business, Facebook gives you the ability to go ahead and advertise that app in its own ad network, silo for apps. So I would really recommend that. It's a very, very, high turnover, high click-through rate in terms of apps. So if you have an app for your business, then go ahead and go ahead and do that. And I think we have a webinar upcoming about launching your own small business smartphone app. So we'll talk about that at that point. But that's how Facebook ads work. They are primarily a CPC and a CPM network, right? So going back to what we talked about, cost per click and a cost per 1,000 views. So you can use either one of those models for most of the ads that I just talked about. LinkedIn ads, or direct ads as it's sometimes called, is a text ad display network. So they primarily show text ads, and it's a highly effective network if you're talking about the B2B or B2 professional, business to professional environment. So they make a lot of money on it. It's a little bit more pricey than a Facebook ads or Google ads network, but it's really worth it because if you're working in a B2B environment or a B2C environment that are professionals, I call it B2P, B2 professional, business to professional, you get the opportunity to really place effective ads in and around certain properties on LinkedIn. And we know that people spend a lot of time in LinkedIn groups, and we know that people spend a lot of time in their news feeds. And so those are places where you can go ahead and show LinkedIn ads right there for your business in there. So if your business is business to business focused or business to professional focused, then LinkedIn ads, there's not really much more to say about it than that, other than the con is that if you're selling retail products or a retail type service, then LinkedIn ads is not necessarily going to be the most effective ad network for you, but there are creative ways in which you can use that and so on and so forth. Okay, last but not least, on the major Tier 1 and Tier 2 ad networks is Twitter ads. It's also the newest player in the market in terms of these sort of big ones. It's skyrocketed to the top, and Twitter ads are done in several different really cool ways. So one way is that you can just sponsor a tweet. Okay, so that means when you see a Twitter status update in the news feed, you can basically tell Twitter to show your tweet to a lot more people than they would otherwise follow me. So on my Twitter profile, I have X number of followers. I'm very comfortable with the people that I'm tweeting out to, but now I want to grow, and I want to have more people see this particular tweet because I think it could be really valuable to them. I can go into Twitter and I can say, here goes my credit card information. Here goes my tweet that I really like. It shows you all the tweets and how many favorites and retweets that you've recently gotten or mentions for that particular tweet. And you can say, I want this one, very similar to the Facebook ads boost posting mechanism. You say, I basically want this one to be a sponsored tweet. And what Twitter does is it runs its little algorithm and it says, oh, this can be shown to this many people, and you should go ahead and check it out. So you go ahead and boost that particular tweet, and the tweet goes out there and it shows it to more people. Now, the most effective tweets have tweet pics in it, or twit pics in them, meaning that it has pictures and or video that has been uploaded directly into Twitter. So pay attention to that photos and video in a sponsored Twitter ad is going to be much more effective than just the regular text-based Twitter ads. Additionally, Twitter has something called Twitter cards. Twitter cards is the ability for you to be able to have a Twitter ad, and so you have a tweet out there, And right below the Twitter ad, it actually says something. It says, would you like to, some kind of call to action. Would you like to download this ebook? Would you like to, be added to the email newsletter? Something to that effect. And what it does is it takes your Twitter contact information as a user, and if you say yes to whatever that is, you as the small business owner now immediately get access to that information in the Twitter user's account. So, it's opt-in, basically. And it's really easy. No one has to fill out a form. They don't have to do really anything. The cards allow them to be able to just engage with you immediately, get you the information you're looking for, and be added to your email marketing campaigns, basically action mechanism, call to action, really, really quickly and easily. So I really like the Twitter ads for that reason. Really, really powerful tool. And as Twitter is one of the strongest and fastest growing social networks of 2014 at least, we can only see good things coming from it, and that means advertising on the Twitter ad network is going to become more popular. Okay, so with the big guys out of the way, I want to talk about just a couple of different ones that can be really interesting, and then I can leave time for questions because there's probably a lot of them out there. So I'm going to hop on over to a browser window, and we're going to go to a couple of them. So one is a website called BlogHer, and BlogHer, I'm going to give this a moment to load. It might hiccup the audio. I'm not sure if it's loading funky or if it's just still loading. Either way, you can see here, tell me if my audio is hiccuping or not, but you can see here, this is BlogHer, and this is really a lifestyle website that has oodles of different article columns written with really the female in mind. And at the top of here, at the top here, you can see that when you hover over this ad, it pops open this larger, sort of beautiful display ad for this particular brand. And you can see that it sits as a small one up here. There's advertising here on the right-hand side of the sidebar. And you can see that they also have pop-ups for particular surveys that they do that are not as annoying, but you can then opt out of them and they disappear after a while. But this is one of those ad networks where BlogHer has a huge following of people. They have a huge amount of traffic, and they fit a niche population. Okay, this is a classic Tier 2 ad network that you should pay attention to. So if you're catering to females, and predominantly females who are interested in interacting with content that's tailored for them, then this is really going to be a great ad network for you. So BlogHer is great. Just go to blogher.com and you can find the ad network stuff in the space below. And so that's really what I'm talking about in terms of finding a niche ad network that really is going to pay attention to your audience specifically. Okay, and so it's going to tailor all of that content to you and to them. Next up is citysearch.com. And again, I'm just going to let this load. So citysearch.com is a little bit different because they are a local, they're a local search directory in a lot of ways. But what they really do is that they create guides for businesses, and it's city by city. So your city may or may not be here in the listing, but if it is here in the listing, you can just go down and check the cities that are available here, and you can find more cities as they come on board. But the point behind it is CitySearch does an amazing job of being able to syndicate you through many different ad networks. They're sort of a meta ad network, but they have their own ad network internally through the content that they produce. So there's review site stuff associated with them, there's an ad network associated with them, and there's the ability for them to handle social media and the meta ad network display work that they do, sort of the placement work that they do. So to explain this a little bit better, they will take your ad and they will not only display it on the websites and the web pages that they own that talk about your restaurant, your bar, club, spa, hotel, retail shop, whatever it might be, but they will then also go to Google AdWords or Yahoo ads or Bing ads, and they will place the best ads for you for the budget that you've been paying for to put you out there in front of your audience on those networks as well. So they're extending your reach that way. You can also have services for them to help you with social media and really help you broadcast yourself out there for getting reviews, so that the more reviews you get and the better they are, then the more you're going to be able to increase your foot traffic and sales in general. So this is for local business, where you want to be able to have these expert folks look at your business and review them and give you lots of really great content and drive lots of traffic to your website. So I like City Search for a lot of different reasons, and so they're really great for that. So next up, I'm going to go over to sort of a traditional media one. They're called specific media. And hold on, I'm just going to let this load again. Just bear with me. I want to go to an actual specific page. So specific media is a, hold on, let's make sure this loads. Great. All right. So specific media is this media company, and they really handle huge brands. They deal with Nielsen, as it shows on screen there under TV audience. They work with Fox, with a Fox ad network, or I think it's FAN, so Fox ad network. They deal with very large people. I think they're the primary ad network for MySpace, which is still in existence, and trying to make a resurgence in the market. And so specific media has the ability to do display advertising on many different networks and many different places. So from an ad network perspective, say that you want your retail shop and you want to be able to connect on that level. You can go out there and use their Retail Connect and get out there to many different audiences, including traditional media, in line with your online advertising. So if you want that cohesiveness between your online and offline advertising, then you can use a service like this. It is a little bit more pricey, so you have to have the marketing budget to be able to do something like this, but it has a lot of different amazing tools in there. The shopper access, which is basically the ability to do product listings out there on the web, and they have Diner Connect and television programming. If you want to get on television, you can go ahead and do television ads for them. Lots of really great stuff. But this is the idea of being able to blend those between web, mobile, traditional media, really being able to get out there and covering the entire, as they call it, media landscape. So don't discount being able to have a huge swath that can customize these solutions so that you have very specific tailored advertising campaigns, and that way you're out there in front of the right people, and you're getting the multiple touch points that are really required for you to be able to make those leads sales. Okay, so people need multiple touch points in advertising, and they want to get their friends and family to affirm what it is that they're buying. So make sure that you're being able to work on several of those levels. So that's another one that's out there. I'm going to switch gears to sort of an old-fashioned thing, but still very powerful, and that's Craigslist. A lot of people don't think about Craigslist as an advertising network, but they are a huge advertising network. And they're a huge advertising network because, well, predominantly they allow free ads. And so a little bit of free advertising isn't bad, right? We all like free on occasion if the quality's good. And Craigslist still provides a huge amount of quality. What you do with Craigslist is you just go to your particular area, so you click on US, you scroll down and you find your particular state, and you can see here that they have pretty much every corner of Virginia covered. And you can say, okay, I want to go to that particular area of Virginia, so let's pick Danville. Hi there down to the folks in Danville. And so we're going to go ahead to Danville, and you can see that here in the Danville Craigslist.org page, we have all of these options in terms of types of ads that we can go ahead and affect. So we can put an ad in, for sale items. We can place ads for jobs if we're looking for someone for a job. There's the services ads, so if we want to be able to tell people about services, and gigs and all sorts of other fun stuff. So you can browse the ads. There's community. If you're hosting an event for your business, you can go ahead and put that into the local news or local events page, community events page. Now, what Craigslist has been doing is they've been slowly but surely pricing, choosing to charge for certain kinds of ads and keeping other ones free. So for instance, the jobs, I think they charge anywhere between $25 and $50 for you to place that ad. Whereas if you wanted to put up a community event, it'll be free. Okay? So just pay attention to that. But really, $25 for a job ad on Craigslist, that's not very expensive, and it's very effective. So it's worth the money to place an ad there on those kinds of networks, and they have a strong discussion forum and all sorts of other fun stuff. It's a very plain site. It gets very good. It's very well search engine optimized, and Craigslist does a great job of being able to control spam and other kinds of hoaxes on Craigslist today that were once rampant on it. So they've really done a great job of being able to control and handle the infrastructure that they've done. So you just go ahead and click on Post to Classifieds. They're going to require you to jump sort of through a couple of hurdles. One is what's called two-factor authentication. They're going to make you use your cell phone to be able, or a landline phone. With some of them, I think they allow you to be able to receive a phone call to verify, but most of them probably will be requiring a mobile phone to get a text message with a code to be able to verify that you're a real human being working with the ad, so that they can keep the spam and the hoaxes down and all that fun stuff. So Craigslist, great use. There are actually a lot of different Craigslist-like services. So really go out there and look for, there's one called Oodle, O-O-D-L-E. Oodle is out there, and there are lots of different Craigslist-like services that are out there that you could potentially also use, and that also have their own advertising networks built into them. They're usually smaller, but if they're community-based, they could be really helpful. So check it out.
Ray, we have a couple of questions on the Craigslist.
Sure.
Can you choose any city you want, Los Angeles, for example, even if you don't live there?
Yes.
And then the second one was for a website, and I'm not sure after that got asked, when that got asked.
Say that one more time. What's the question?
It just says, for a website.
Can you place an ad on Craigslist for a website? Whoever's asking the question, if you could just clarify that, and I'll be happy to answer. I just don't understand what you mean specifically, so I want to make sure I answer the question right. But go ahead and type in your clarification, and I will answer it. I'm going to go on to the next site.
Great.
So the next one I want to talk about, I'm going to let load. Okay, so Outbrain is this really amazing tool. I don't know what just happened to my page. There it is. Okay, Outbrain is this really amazing tool. And so what Outbrain is it basically says, you write really great content. I hope as a small business owner you understand today from my various presentations and all the other various folks that are out there talking about the importance of creating a great content strategy and getting content out there on the web. Well, Outbrain basically says, if you write great content, why don't we get that great content out in front of other people in a really smart way? So what they do is they allow you to advertise to get your content onto other content providers' websites. They give the example of here. They have the CNN tech website. CNN is a huge news organization that produces lots of really great content. But what they get to do is they actually get to place their ads. Now, this isn't just an ad that they're showing here for Mazda. Has to be a piece of content that actually has to be something of value to the audience that's watching CNN Tech, okay? This is not about putting up an ad, just an ad. This is about creating a checklist, PDF checklist, or some kind of content on your website that people can have access to, that's high quality, and you basically advertise for people to be able to see that highly valuable content. What, of course, is that content couched in? Your branding, your sales material, all of those kinds of things. So it can be really, really powerful for you to get on some of the largest content publishers' websites and web properties by amplifying it through Outbrain, and that's why the product is called Amplify. And so Outbrain, I just think it's such an amazing tool. It's such an amazing product. You should really, really think about how they work. And you can see here they have all this other, ability to show these different kinds of content here. So I misspoke when I showed the Mazda ad. It's actually this little area down here it says your content goes there. That's what they're talking about. These ads are actual for content that's showing on the site. And so you can see here, you take that content, you submit it through Outbrain, they go ahead and put it on publishers' sites, and then of course that traffic comes back to you. It's a really, really unique concept, and as a small business, you can drive lots of traffic to your website that's going to be concentrated, powerful leads because they're coming from reputable sites, big publishers who really know how to gain the traffic, and therefore they're gonna give more trust and more lenience to your brand because of that. So pay a lot of attention to Outbrain because Outbrain is really cool. So if you're blogging and you want to be able to get more exposure through it, go ahead and do that. There are two others that I want to cover very, very quickly, and I just want to show them to you because they do fall underneath the Tier 1 network items, but they've actually sort of fallen to sort of a Tier 2 status because of who they are. But Ask.com has the sponsored listings. And so Ask.com is the fourth largest search engine that we know that's out there. And if we just click on their own on the Google ad to Ask.com sponsored listings, hopefully we'll be taken to it. So here we are. Ask.com allows you to be able to place sponsored listings. It's not showing it to me here. Either way, but Ask.com, they allow you to be able to advertise on their network. And Ask.com is really cool because they're, of course, a question and answer style community. So when you go into Ask.com, it's sort of an issue of, I have a question, what's the answer? And they provide that answer and then show, of course, your ads in places that are near those answers to those questions, which makes you the solution, quote unquote, to whatever the problem that person has. So it can be very effective for solutions providers. So it might be if I was an HVAC company, I would go out there and make sure that my Ask.com ads showed up on all of the places where people were asking questions about broken air conditioners and broken heating systems, right? So really, really powerful ad network there. And then, of course, AOL ads. And AOL advertising is another one of those top tier. Once upon a time, they were a huge ad network, the largest of them, and they've, of course, fallen into sort of a little bit, as you know what happened to them. But the reality is that AOL advertising is still powerful. And again, I'm going to pause here while this loads. But they've done a really fantastic job of redoing their entire ad network interface so that they are web and mobile friendly. So that means they're going to capture both. They are working to really do an amazing job to spread their content distribution networks, their channels, to be able to get out there to different places. They have access to much larger brands, and so they have all these exclusive content networks. So they're capable of going out there and saying to large retail brands, can we place advertising on your X or on your Y, and you can do those kinds of things. So if you want to have a sponsorship of a particular up-and-coming fashion designer or something like that, these are the kinds of things that you could do through this network, as well as specific media that I talked about earlier. So there are lots of really great options for you in the AOL advertising world. So I wanted to touch on this because they are still important, although they're not traditionally Tier 2 networks. They are traditionally Tier 1 networks, but I wanted to really talk about it anyway. I have not uploaded to the site yet, but once we do upload the website materials, I'll be providing links to all of these at the link that's on the screen right now. And so you can go to that link. It's going to be dead, but just save it. And once I post the archives, that is the Virginia SBDC posts the archive video on the website, this link will take you to a series of resources that I've provided, and with sort of a little blurb explaining what each of those networks are, so that you can sort of refresh your memory about what they are, and you can access all that data there. And I've provided a couple of other SlideShare and Prezis and other courses that will lead you down the right path as it relates to those ad networks. So I'm here for questions, happy to answer any questions that you might have, and I'll pass it over to Tracy to...
Ray, we don't have any questions right now. We can wait a few minutes while people are typing their questions. I wanted to thank everyone today for participating. Today's webinar was recorded and will be posted on the Virginia SBDC website under live webinars and recordings. Tomorrow you'll be receiving a follow-on email to this webinar with an evaluation link in it. Please help us continue to improve our training by taking the time to fill out that survey. If you want to do that now, I did post it in the chat window, and you can click on that to fill out the evaluation now. Our next webinar will be May 1st, titled Video Killed the Radio Star, How to Become a Rock Star YouTuber. So we can wait a few minutes, but so far we don't have any questions for you, Ray.
That's great.
Means you covered everything, right?
Yeah, I actually just overwhelmed everybody with all of the options. That's all. You're all very overwhelmed with all the opportunities to spend your money on ads. Well, either way, as I said at the beginning, you're all welcome to go ahead and tweet at W3 Consulting, hashtag it beyond Google, and I'll be happy to answer those questions there. Again, follow at Virginia SBDC for more announcements regarding the webinars, and I think we can just wrap up.
Okay, great. See you on May 1st. Thank you all.